Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Property Venture Podcast, the show where we talk about real estate, investing, and everything in between. As always, I'm your host, Giancarlo and Anthony, joined with my partner, Anthony Lodja. Anthony, say hi to the people.
Welcome back, guys. We're looking forward to this one.
Guys, we have Jessica with us today, who's a seasoned real estate broker in the West Island District of Montreal. And she's here to talk to us a little bit about the market, lifestyle, and a little bit about interior design. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. I'm glad you took the time to sit with us on a Friday evening to film some episodes.
Better way to spend a Friday.
Right, exactly. You have nothing else to do.
Real estate brokers, right? They're always on calls.
Exactly.
So, Jessica, let's kind of get into it.
Go.
When we're selling a home, often interior design, lighting, these are things that a lot of brokers and agents overlook.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
You know what? I always bring up a situation I had with a client of mine. She was so like, we're not going to visit this property. It's ugly. The paint is off. I'm like, just trust me on this one. I convinced her after a week. I'm like, you have to look beyond the paint, beyond the horrible lighting, and beyond the realtor's photos they've done with their cell phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And just trust me. The location is key. The mechanical is good. Like everything else about it checks off the boxes. The moment we got in there, she's like, thank you. Let's put an offer.
Yeah.
So it really does play an impact more than you would think.
And you know what I think too? Because you have that type of vision, you could also distill that on them.
Exactly.
You could give them that type of, you could give 100%. Them those options,
100%. Plus it's aesthetic, right? So you just have to think, okay, this can be changed.
Yeah.
Once it's changed, it's gold after.
And I've always said, clients, real estate photos could be often deceiving, kind of like on dating apps. Right? People know how to manipulate photos for the good and the bad.
100%.
Right? So you got her to go there, you got her to see beyond the photos, and it ended up working out.
Exactly.
So how long have you been doing real estate, Jessica?
It's over a decade.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I know a thing or two, hopefully. So I really emphasize on the fact that I help my clients with the lifestyle of it all. So when it comes to selling or buying over a decade, I've noticed a common theme throughout how I help people. It's really location and lifestyle is what I've really kind of, niched in. A lot of people come to me to say like, it's my first time coming to the West Island and the suburbs. Like, where do I go here? Where do I get a coffee? All these things. Where can I shop with my kids? So I really kind of niched in that sort of sense and help clients in that sort of way too. So, and it came down with marketing also at the same time. How do I list my property to,
Yeah. I mean, I see your reels and stuff online.
Thank
You're always doing something visible.
I'm
You're
trying.
Very visible. So do you find it like a big adjustment for clients when they're in terms of lifestyle, when they're switching from, let's say, a condo in Griffintown to a family home in the West Island,
Yeah. Well, look, everyone loves to be in Griffintown or Old Port. It's the hustle and bustle. It's very different, right? Coming to the West Island, like, oh, I have to take a car everywhere?
Yes.
How do I get to here? How to get there? I'm telling you, my superpower is I know every back street and back road to get anywhere. So the clients really appreciate it. Yeah. It's mostly the commute. It's like, how do I get downtown the fastest? Which highway's better than the other? 40 versus the 20 topic. That's basically the transport is really how to, and what schools, if that's ever the case.
Yeah, because when you're home though, it's paradise.
Yes.
You can't compare a condo life versus a home life, especially out west. It's quiet. You have the backyard.
Exactly. People usually want to come here in the West because they want tranquility and peace or, get a bigger space.
It's super, I've been in the West Island for a decade too, as long as I started real estate. And it's super family-oriented area. Yeah. Like one of these areas where you walk around at night and it's quiet and it's peaceful.
Yes.
And it's just safe, and there's and it's developed too. And like since I started real estate 10 years ago, it's
100%.
developed. I drove by St. Charles in the 40 and there was like the Tesla dealership, the REM thing and everything. And on the opposite side, they developed it with the Provigo and all those like stores and everything. So
it's gotten a lot as I feel like the West Island is growing, it's developing. So it's kind of merging what people's needs are. And also there's different types of people also coming into the West Island, people from various, from coming from downtown to the West. So they're trying to, put everything together here.
And maybe for people that don't really know,
Yes.
what type of budget do you need to afford, I don't know, a bungalow, a cottage?
That's a loaded question.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Because, you know, I remember back when we started, $1 million, you know, was like, wow.
Yeah.
Now $1 million, you still got to change the carpet.
Yes, that's it.
You still got to do work and
Yes.
yeah.
So it's not what it used to be. So average price point, man, where there's a sweet spot right now where people are buying, which is about that 750 that to that 1.2 range. I find that people are, you know, tapping in and finding a good home. And that's what I would say is kind of what's happening here in the West Island. So yeah, you are able to get something under $1 million.
Yeah.
Depending where you're going to get it.
Yeah.
You might need to put some work in.
Put some love in it.
I mean, you know, like I've seen the West Island develop,
Yes.
and it seems to go more and more west in the
Yes.
last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, like at one point they were developing St. Anne's, which was one of the, you know, the furthest points in the West
Yeah.
Island. And then it just moved to Vaudreuil,
Oh, my Vaudreuil.
St. Lazare.
Now
Hudson.
it's like, I don't even know where now. It's like past Les Cèdres.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Saint
Exactly.
Zatique.
Yeah.
Someone called me the other day about a condo project in Saint Zatique.
Exactly.
So
It's booming because they've realized that it's unaffordable to some people to live in the West Island or to get the space that they want or a lot that they need for whatever reason. So further west, you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck.
And when
So-
all your family's in the West Island and you live, you know, 15, 20 minutes more west, it's not even a big deal.
No.
That's what happened.
Unless the bridge is
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
being
Don't
worked
talk
on.
about those
Oh my.
bridges.
No.
One's closed, the other one's open. Then when that one opens up, the other one closes. It's like it's crazy.
It's wild. And it's almost, you know, when we have visits, I kind of have to coordinate, okay, I got to leave like 3 hours in
Yeah.
advance because you just never
You
know,
never know.
which is going to be blocked. So yeah, it's a bit more difficult, but I say long term, it's going to be worth it investment wise because once that bridge is done,
Yeah.
and the hospital is built in Vaudreuil, you're
Yes.
going to get, you know, a really good return future wise.
What I love is that when you go to Vaudreuil, it's Vaudreuil d'Orion.
Yeah.
And the people that lived in d'Orion their whole lives, they refuse to call it Vaudreuil.
Yeah.
There's such an
Dorion.
animosity.
It's Dorian.
Oh,
Story on
it's
it,
Dorion.
man.
I know.
And don't forget it.
Don't forget it.
Yeah. So what brings you joy when it comes to your work?
You know what? For either buyer or sellers or anything.
Well,
'Cause I
give us
feel
an
like
example
there's
of
like
each. Give us an example of each.
Okay. Sellers, I just, you know, I like it when some of them try to, you know, do the staging with me or give their like little 2 cents. Like, oh, if I tell them, you know, let's put some white dishes out on the table, they're like, which ones? Let me know, you know? And so they kind of help me. And I love doing it with them because they feel like they're part of the process and it's not just like a very transactional situation, especially if they're attached to the home per se. So that really kind of brings me joy. I think in a world of AI, I still write my descriptions.
Okay. Wow, you do?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Yes, I will admit it. So, I mean, it might help a little bit, but I do write my description. I feel like people overlook descriptions.
They do.
And so I think that helps. So that brings me joy for some reason.
The
you know?
human touch, you know?
That human touch, yeah. Because
sure.
sometimes clients will read and they're like, wow, that really is a nice touch on the property. So
Yeah.
that kind of brings me joy. But
So- And I know you mentioned like selling a property.
Yeah.
And being engaged with your sellers.
Yes.
What are maybe 3 little tips that you give them to help them, whether it's sell fast or make it look great, you know?
well, definitely declutter
Yeah.
and organize.
Yeah.
Like that is, I cannot emphasize that enough. And I'm looking directly at the camera. I can't emphasize that enough is decluttering and organizing because the minute the house is a disaster, people automatically just exit out of their minds. And they're like, what am I going to walk into moving forward into the house? So decluttering and organizing is one of them. I always say, if we can paint, let's put a fresh coat of paint.
I love that you said that. Paint goes a long way, guys. And white is fantastic in
Yeah.
the house. It really just makes the area look a lot more spacious
Yes.
and welcoming.
Yes.
And, you know, sometimes you get a house that has multiple rooms with multiple different colors, and it's like, what's going on here?
exactly.
you don't know,
It's
right?
like, and people are questioning, they're like, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's happening? And, you know,
Instead of focusing on the house.
And you know, exactly. They take, yes, exactly.
Like,
and then also, people don't think this, yes, it's just a slap of color of paint or whatever, but painting now is expensive.
Yes.
So it can easily, cost like minimal is $2,000 plus, and people don't want to spend that kind of money on just paint alone.
Yeah.
So if a seller does it, it is helpful. I've had sellers say like, well, it's kind of like clinical if I just put white, but there's so many shades of white.
Yes.
So it's like, I like showing them like, no, you can actually use like this kind of
like
color.
an eggshell.
Eggshell,
And an off-white. And a little gray tint.
There's so many undertones.
I do property management.
Yes.
And when we have a tenant move in and move out, we often give it what we call a facelift. And essentially, we put a coat of white paint.
Yeah.
And it just looks so much more, it just looks fresher.
Cleaner.
Cleaner. And like just, it changes the whole vibe
Yes.
of the space.
100%.
So paint goes a long way, guys.
Yes.
Definitely.
I agree with you. And natural lighting.
Oh. But how do you inject natural lighting if...
Okay. How do I say this? So if you don't have natural light, just try to put lights as much as possible. I'm not saying just go grab a bunch of like IKEA lamps and just start putting them on at all times, but there's certain lamps or ways that you can create an ambiance with lighting. Obviously not stark white either. I find, it's that's very clinical.
Yes.
Set the mood.
Exactly. If you are renovating and are able to put pot lights, recessed lighting, I would highly suggest that too. So that can create that sort of,
that wow factor when you come into the room.
But natural light. So like I'm a type of person, I need to have light. People are also very conscious about whether they want morning light or afternoon light. So that's something to take in consideration too. Like where does the sun set? Where does the sun rise? I think that's a good thing too.
So what I'm hearing is it's mostly surrounding being clean, being neat.
Being clean, yeah.
Yeah, like don't mess it up in a sense. Don't deteriorate the space too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think so. It's like having a magic eraser with you at all times. Like we got to just scrub off anything and just, make sure everything is good and ready to go.
And it's interesting that, we spoke about like staging and interior design a little bit, because I find like when you're selling a property, it's so hard to envision the space when it's an empty house.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you get the idea, but it's the livable space. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and then when you do staging and like when there's furniture in the place, it gives you more of a easier time to envision what living in this property would be like.
110%. People sometimes will walk into a space, they're like, oh, but where would my couch fit? My couch is really large. And then, for instance, if this place can hold a large sectional, then they can understand, oh, wow, my couch can actually fit in there.
Yeah.
I'll give you a prime example. We listed a bungalow in Bay d'Urfé, and it just has tiles instead of hardwood flooring. The whole house is just tiled. We staged it and it makes it feel warmer. So with a carpet and with, putting sectionals and couches and putting all the furniture in place, people actually, they didn't look at the tile per se. They looked at actually how the rooms were laid out versus, oh my God, this is all tiled.
Yeah, I think it's like the Italian inside of me that wants to see the ceramic.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
I'm into that.
Okay, but we're not into La Ceramica, okay?
No,
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate tile.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
But I back in the day, tile was over exaggerated. It was used, you go into the bathroom and there's tile all over the wall.
I know.
And now they just tile the shower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know. You know what? For flooring, I feel like tile is just not what people want to see anymore.
Especially in a living room. Yeah.
Right? Kids playing around, mind you, they'll bump their head on whatever, but it just naturally, we just think it's just not a good type of flooring for some reason. And it's a colder feeling.
Yeah.
So people want to see the hardwood or some kind of engineered wood that, makes the house feel a bit warmer, I would say.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned hardwood because every time I see hardwood in a house, I'm always drawn to it.
Really?
Yeah, because hardwood just has this look and this quality to it that's just, I find gorgeous.
I had somebody that once came in and they were like, oh, we would rip this out and put new flooring. And I'm like, do you know how
what this
much?
is?
Yeah.
Do you know what this is?
Do you know this is like gold?
Yeah.
I do not do anything.
Yeah.
Like I will really not write this offer if you want to take out this flooring, okay? This is gold. This is prime. So yeah, I understand completely.
Do you ever advise your sellers on what type of renovations they should be making, or maybe a buyer?
Yes. You know what? I just went through this exercise. They were like, oh, should we do this? Should we do that? And I'm like, listen, obviously respecting your budget, you might not yield your return on investment on this one. It depends on location and the product also. Also, like some people will come to me like, you know what? I'm just going to change the hardware and it'll look brand new.
Right.
I'm like, guys, come on.
Don't.
Don't even mess with the hardware. Just leave it as is. At this point, it will still look the same.
Yeah.
So there's just little fine touches that I feel like it's not even necessary. Just do the whole thing, if anything. So yeah, I do counsel them on what not to do. But look, bathrooms and kitchens, as we know, are the things to touch. But sometimes is it worth to touch it?
That's it.
Will you get your return?
Well, we also spend most of the time in our house in a bathroom or in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Pacing.
You in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Most of your time in the bathroom?
I check my hair in the mirror. It could take a while, but so okay. So I know you like a little bit of interior design and everything based on your social media. We've spoken about like paint and everything, but when it comes to furniture, and color tones, tell us what your take on that is.
You know what? Neutral is always best.
Yeah.
I've been into the cognac recently for some reason. I like that cognac-y color. I feel like sometimes a pop and some type of neutral color helps too, or in a color, depending. And there's always a nice accent piece that could be, well integrated. But furniture, I always say keep it neutral, keep it light, keep it simple. And then the accent should be a little bit more colorful or have a texture.
Okay.
That's what I think. My humble opinion.
Yeah, no, color tones go a long way.
Yes.
And it's hard. Like I said, some sellers like to paint to what their color is. And I've seen red walls and black walls. And not to say that a black wall doesn't work, because it could work, but don't overdo it.
100%. 100%. I always say, at least if you want a black wall, at least maybe one.
Just one.
Just one, or like a powder room.
Yeah.
I feel like a good powder room. Recently, the trend is, wallpaper is back for powder rooms.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's never gone away, but it's
Well, it should have gone away for a while. Like, let's be clear.
Mind you, it is really nice because sometimes, look, your guests go in a powder room, you want to make an impact, right? So sometimes like a funky, cool wallpaper kind of makes that little effect depending on the wallpaper. I've seen some hideous ones, but
terrible ones.
Yes, I can agree.
And it's a pain to take off.
Exactly. So I can understand, but these small ones, off of an entryway or whatnot, I feel like it brings in like some kind of wow factor. And most clients, when I visit with them, like, oh, wow, really nice. Again, depends on the wallpaper.
Yeah.
But also it can be painted black or a darker color and then has different accents. So I think that makes a statement.
Well, also like wallpaper today versus wallpaper from the 70s.
No.
Come on.
No.
Right? It's a little bit more stylish today.
Yes.
And from the 70s, it's like you walk into some houses and you're like, wow.
And wallpaper gets old fast.
Yeah.
Very old.
Yeah.
Yes.
And dirty.
And
yellow.
And dirty, especially if you're a smoker.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's the thing. And with smokers too, if we touch upon that, because that's kind of like integrated into all of this. Oh man.
I know.
Even paint won't even get rid of sometimes the smell.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I got to go tomorrow to speak to one of our tenants who's a big time smoker to tell her, I need you to dial it down. Like, I get it. We allow you to, but it's when it's disturbing the neighbors, it's bad.
How do you advise like somebody that is smoking and you need to show a place?
Yeah. That's a good question to ask you. How do you advise them? I mean, I
love hearing. I'm like, what do you guys do? You know what? Because you tell them not to. I mean, they, mostly like if it's rented or whatnot, typically it's in the lease. You cannot smoke inside, but there's always that it's on them. It's there, right? And it will smell. And people will typically right off the bat, the first thing you will smell is smoke.
Yeah, you smell it when you walk in.
Exactly, and they're like, this person's a smoker. And I'm like, no. Like they can't smoke inside. Yeah. And they're like, no, I know it. They're a smoker. What I do advise is I try to have at least something that I know running, perhaps. I don't want to mask the smell too much with like the harsh chemicals of something that you plug in.
Something overpowering.
Yes. So what I'll try to do is I will try to light a candle instead, something not too harmful. If I can go there and get done earlier before the visit.
Yes.
Or I sometimes suggest to the tenants, like if they can get a diffuser
Okay.
Oh.
and then have that running a little bit, and obviously open the windows harder in the winter. I understand,
Yeah.
but it's like try to air
it's
it out.
talking, it's negotiating, it's all that.
It
You know,
depends
I-
the
It's a
person.
finesse.
It depends on the
It
person.
Yeah.
depends the person, because I walked into some smokers' units and
It's fine.
they're like, "Oh, do you know we smoke in here?" And I'm like, "You do?" It's like, "Yeah, we just opened the windows." And like, I wouldn't even be able to tell that they smoked in there, right? But then
Yeah.
there's some people that
Yeah. it's-
don't open anything,
Yes.
you know?
I agree. So it is a challenge, and then you just have to kind of work around it.
And when you have a seller who smokes, that
Yeah.
sometimes is difficult because you have to have that conversation with them and say, unfortunately, we're going to have to paint. Like, I know there's a cost to it,
I
but
know.
you want to get maximum dollars for your house and you've put everything in your home.
I agree.
Right.
And you have
It's-
to have that difficult conversation. And I think it takes a strong broker to sit down and be like, listen to me.
Yeah.
If you want to get this done, and I'm going to promise, well, not promise, we don't promise
No.
anything.
No.
But if
We
you know,
advise.
we
Yes.
advise, we
We
advise.
advise.
We try to do what we can. If you want this to be successful and allow me to make this a successful deal, then you got to listen to me.
Yes.
And that's kind of like, they have no choice but to listen at that point. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because being a broker, people think that we sell houses, but we do so much more. We're therapists, we're best friends, sometimes marriage counselors.
Oh, yes.
And the list goes on and on.
And we're
Babysitter.
available 24/7.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
that's the assumption, is that
Yeah.
we don't sleep, right?
Yes.
So they call any time of the day.
Mhm.
So how do you navigate like I don't want to say a difficult client, but a difficult personality that doesn't maybe understand that you're not always available and you need to sleep,
Yeah.
you know?
To function.
To function.
Yeah.
And how do you navigate this? And
You know what? Also, I think it's like a relationship. You kind of have to set your boundaries.
Right.
I like that, yeah.
right?
You kind of have to say, like, listen, on, this type of day, I can only be reached at this point. Let me know if there's anything before that point. If not, just send me a text and I'll make sure to answer you right away after I'm done, type of thing. It's setting the expectation, like having a conversation about your boundaries, I think is like always a good thing to do.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I learned that early on in my career when I had a client who,
Oh my.
he knows this, we still refer to him this day, but he would call at all sorts of hours in the
Oh
night,
my God.
Yeah.
12, 1 in the morning.
What?
2 in the morning.
Yeah, but he used to work overnight too.
Okay, so the
Used to
mind's
work-
running at that point.
So,
Yeah.
and I would wake up at 6:37 and I'd see like 3 missed calls at 2 in the morning. And I'm like, it's only could be one person. So
Yes.
they don't understand, right? They
know.
don't,
Just because they're up
doesn't mean
and
we
they
are.
need help doesn't mean we need to set those boundaries.
Exactly. And I tell somebody, I'm like, listen, because there are people that do have different shifts, right?
Yeah.
Like we're mostly the 9 to 5 or 9 to 12, whatever you want to call this.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, if you have a thought or you want to express something, email it.
Yeah.
Then I'll deal with it when I'm up,
Yes.
type of thing. And then I have it in writing so I can consciously think of what to say and what to do at that point versus like a panicked, I don't know, like, why isn't my house selling at 2 a.m. type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, send me an email, figure it out from there.
So what would be one of the most interesting scenarios you've came across as a real estate broker?
Oh my God, in what domain? Like, there's so many different aspects.
Give us a few examples.
Okay, sticking to the topic at hand. I'll leave it at that because it could go either way.
Right.
I mean, listen, I feel like things people don't talk about this enough. Post-transaction. Like we sell a house with a Vendu sign. You do the picture of the champagne. I'm not like that, but people do
Yes.
that. It's done, sign, seal, deliver. Absolutely not, because there's so many things that can go wrong. I've literally had a notary call me and be like, yeah, the person's in the hospital. The seller cannot sign today.
Yeah. We've had.
So funny story. Me and Anthony started working together since he got out of school.
Mhm.
And one thing I told him at the beginning of the career is don't get too excited. Because until the commission is cashed in your account and you spend it, don't get too excited because anything could happen.
Yep.
The buyer or the seller, God forbid, could go
Yes.
on the way to the notary and get into a car accident, fall into a coma. We pitch a listing one day, me and Anthony. Beautiful, renovated, like beautiful
Nice
condo, very nice
Okay.
condo. Sign the contract, about to put it on, get a call from the seller's girlfriend. Seller got into an accident. He's in a coma.
Yeah.
No.
Anthony goes, it's crazy. For the last 5 years we've been working together, you've been talking to me about this wild example, and I never thought it
What's
would come
the chance,
true.
though?
And he
What's
goes,
the
I
chance?
thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
He
No.
goes, but here we are with a client that got into a coma, and we were faced with this situation. And this is why anything could happen.
Anything can happen. Literally anything happen. And then you got to deal with the aftermath of when that call comes in and you're like, wait, who do I call first? What do I
Yes.
do? Because people start to panic, right? They're like, what do you mean? What's going to happen? We don't have everyone's changed. Everyone's hired this and the movers and that. It's crazy. So I think that's in itself one of the things people don't really realize about our industry is like post sale. What
And
happens?
there are legal issues as well, right? Like
Yeah.
we need to watch out for a lot of these.
100%. Like we are like
we're
you
liable
mentioned,
for so much.
100%. So not only just the babysitter, the therapist, the
Marriage
the
counselor.
marriage counselor.
Yeah.
Like we really got to like cross our T's and dot our I's really and make sure everything's good. I've had a notary call too and say, oh, I just got the certificate. A portion of the land belongs to the neighbor
Ugh.
and I cannot sign on this. Clients are coming from out of town. They have nowhere to go. Where do you put them? I literally had to put them all in the house. I'm like, you guys, we're going to figure this out together.
Wow.
And we just have to, find a way and find a notary that would actually sign off at this certain time and another date. And it was just crazy. So,
Because you need to be resourceful.
yes.
And half of the job is finding adequate solutions for problems. And problems,
100%.
they come in forms of surprises,
yes.
not the good surprises.
Yep.
And so we need to be resourceful.
Yes.
We're problem solvers in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially.
We wear many hats.
We wear a few hats.
And if I can't wear the hat, I'm tossing it to the next person.
Yeah.
I'm like, here, help.
Yeah. And there's so much things like when we do our training in school and go for licensing, we only learn on the field. And when you get that experience, right, that blood, sweat, tears, that's the only way you learn because, schools don't prepare you for that stuff.
They don't. And it's funny because I actually went to school having already done a bit of real estate on the side, being like kind of an assistant of some sort. So I kind of knew what, certain things that we were learning. I already knew it already. But for the newer ones, I was like, oh my God, they have no idea about these things. And I'm like, they're going to be shell shocked when they go into the industry.
Yeah.
And that's why the success rate is so low. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't think they prep you enough to really, how to be, chameleon in front of people also. I think you have to be a really big people person. People can be really, have that dream of, selling real estate and seeing, selling sunset and being like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's realistic, isn't it? Selling sunset.
So
right?
realistic. I go into work with my 7-inch heels all the time with my mini skirt.
that's it.
I thought that was reality.
Full
TV.
glam. Like, with big commission checks that doesn't happen. That's basically that commission that they show is both sides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not
It's
without
the
all the
global.
realtor fees.
Yeah, it's the global.
Exactly.
We're not making that much.
Yeah. Unpopular opinion.
Say
but
that again,
We
honestly.
work for our
Say
money.
louder in the back.
We work for our money, right? People think that we're going to get into real estate and close our eyes, make 100,000 as many times, and like we actually work.
Yes.
We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
People calling us after hours and needing to sleep.
Yeah.
So
100%. I agree.
well, Jess, it was fun. We're unfortunately it's all the time we have for this episode, but we'll bring this back next week, guys. Tune in. Make sure to tune in for the second part of this episode with Jessica.
And before we let you go, Jessica, let the viewers know where they can find you.
Oh, find me on Instagram at Jessica D. Ray. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and website, jessicadray.com.